slipped my mind. Let me think for a minute. I had it.
And please feel free to stand in line and ask for questions.
Yes,
I'm more than willing to answer
come on up.
my views, of anybody. So if anyone has any
What's
questions,
better?
but we gotta stand in line.
Collectivism or individualism? There you go.
Yeah, okay. Let's do that. Do you believe that individualism? So we're basically debating the idea of socialism versus personal responsibility. So do you believe individualism or collectivism is the proper way? We're going to have 2 minutes. We started with Ani last time, so this time we're going to start with Adam. Go ahead and take the mic. I'm going to tell you when your 2 minutes start.
Right now, go.
All right, so, I mean, this has been brought up a little bit already, but, the whole collectivist ideology, the thought that we should whitewash or brush all of these groups of people, we've already agreed that that's injustice. That the individual is responsible for oneself. The individual, when they are strong and able to perform the functions daily for themselves and for their families, and they can prosper because they are free to do so, they then are able and most likely will take care of their neighbors that are in need. But when we have this collectivist ideology where we all have to have things taken from us to have a magical government that's going to take care of everyone and become God for people, that is unjust. That is why we're fighting. We're all fighting that together, guys. We're all fighting the injustices of what the government does to us. That's what increased collectivism in our society is going to bring, is even more injustice, because it increases the power of the government over us. We need to release all of the socialist ideologies and see what can happen. But again, we have to work in our communities first. We have to be the ones active, not allowing the people that have been corrupted by the power that they get through our system, through the current system. I'm not even saying this is the system it's supposed to be or what the founders or anything. This is just what we're dealing with, right? And we need to wake up and participate so that we can have strong individuals again. That's the only way to fix America. Collectivism doesn't work. Socialism doesn't work. It has never worked for a nation our size, our diverse. It never will.
Okay, collectivism versus individualism. 2 minutes starting right now.
I can't say I go with one or the other. I hate to be annoying, but I think we have to be both. So what I say is, we have to be independent thinkers, okay, but you have to collectively come together and work on things together as a community. So you might be a part of the city of Lansing, but you're also a part of the state of Michigan, you're also a part of the United States, and you're also a part of the world. And you stem with yourself, but you have to collectively come together. So there is some good aspects with collectivism as well as being independent. I think that both can be kind of mashed together, and I think that's part of the big problem, is everyone thinks they have to go with one way or another. You can't pick different traits from each thing and apply it, and that's where the individuality comes in place. We can pick, this I agree with Trump, this I agree with Biden, this I agree with Black Lives Matter, this I don't. We can do that, and that's okay, and that's being independent. But we must collectively come together as communities to work together. When I have 4 kids, my kids have to collectively cooperate when it comes to chores. Not one of them is going to say, well, I'm an individual and I'm against chores. Throws the whole system off at home. And then we'll have flies and shit will stink. So we have to put both sides together. We can implement traits from multiple things.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I do have a question here. So I thought what it was.
I figured it out.
So can somebody hold my flag so it's thank you. Okay, so I've got a question for both of you. I'm going to ask her first, since obviously we went to Adam first. And it's going to change the candidate based on your side. So for you, if it was discovered that Joe Biden was aware of voter fraud, would you then be ashamed that you had voted for him, and would you be against him if you found out that he was aware of voter fraud that favored him?
1 minute starting now.
With any candidate, and that's what I said down there earlier, with any candidate, if they're aware that they personally rigged the system, that is disgusting. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. If they're aware that they rigged the system. So no matter what candidate it is, even if it's local, there's a lot of things with Mayor Andy Shore I do not support. He's a Democrat. So no, with any candidate, any kind of injustice that they did, I honestly think a majority of the politicians are, they've
10
done some
seconds.
naughty things, overall. And if they got caught, it's been proven, then, well, I'm disappointed,
Yeah.
Adam, if Donald Trump was found guilty of knowing that voter fraud had happened and it favored him, would you renounce him and would you support him after that?
1 minute starting right now.
I don't think we ever should support candidates that have been found doing fraud within our system. I mean, that is why we are here in this place with fraud happening right in front of our faces and not recognizing, not wanting to recognize, because we've allowed these individuals for far too long to get away with wrongdoing. I've said it over and over that we have a system now that elevates people that are the meanest, the nastiest, and the most politically powerful, the ones that can push people around the most, are the ones that get elevated within our system.
10 seconds.
And so I don't want to ever support anyone once I find, trust is a huge thing. We gotta be trustworthy, guys.
Mm-hmm.
So this is essentially the same format, on candidates. It'll start with Adam this time. If a recount happens and all the votes are validated and Biden ends up being the winner, will you support him as your president? Or at least acknowledge him as your president?
1 minute starting right now.
I've thought it's ridiculous for anyone that is an American to not acknowledge the American president. So, I mean, whoever is my president is going to be the president. Again, the president does not affect us individually on a day-to-day basis, and that's why, again, we need to understand the local focus, the fixing of ourselves, our families, and our local communities in order to take back and correct the wrongs in America. He'd be the president. I mean, not a whole lot really changes, you guys. I mean, there's the federal government really should not have a major impact on our day-to-day lives. There's such a breakdown in our separation of power in America that
10 seconds.
yeah. Wouldn't have an issue. I mean, again, that's never been an issue for me. I mean, integrity is the issue, guys.
And then I'll phrase that same question again to Ani. If the voting is recalculated and it's found out that Donald Trump was indeed the winner, will you recognize him as your president?
1 minute starting right now.
Well, that already happened before, and he's not my personal president, but he is the president of the United States, and I am an American. So, I mean, whoever gets voted in gets voted in. So I have to second that. So many people ignore the local elections, and so many people think that they must go with Republican or Democrat, or they must be Green Party, they must do this, they must follow this, and they must follow that. You don't have to. There is a whole buffet. You have free will, you have choices. You can pick and choose from different things. You can do whatever works for your values and what affects your family first. Your family does affect the community overall. Generations, like I had brought up earlier, the Indian boarding schools, those affected, the treatment to Native people in the boarding schools
10 seconds.
affects our families today. I mean, I had to bring awareness to that. It's Indigenous Peoples Month as well, ironically. And we knew, just like, the Jewish Auschwitz camps,
So I really appreciate both people agreeing on that and us getting that good vibe. Another question. This one's gonna go to
Hold
Ani.
on. We have some people over here.
Oh, you guys
We'll
have
come back to
questions?
you and ask questions.
I've got
Those
answers.
guys over here.
Yeah, we'll catch them next, but I do want to ask this question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Is it appropriate and okay, and should it be lawful for 2 men or 2 women to marry each other in the United States?
1 minute starts right now.
I personally don't have a problem with 2 people getting married to each other. It doesn't affect me personally who people love. And I know that there are gay communities that support Trump and gay communities that support Biden. So that doesn't really, love who you love, get married. I do support marriage. And I believe marriage is very important. And it's, I can't, my husband's my best friend, and I joke because I say, I'm living this conventional life with unconventional thoughts and it's working. Because I'm so for women and women's rights, but then I don't mind cooking him dinner after a long day's of work. So it's shit like that. I think that's just love, So if anybody that loves each other, they gotta get married, whatever, It doesn't, I don't think that should be a government dictation.
Okay, Adam, do you know the question clear?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean,
1 minute. Hold on. 1 minute starts right now.
so she hit the nail on the head at the end that the government shouldn't dictate. And ultimately, there are a lot of people that I know on your side too that fight against and say separation of church and state. Well, marriage for all of time is a religious ceremony. Okay, it is something that happens in the church. I believe in marriage between a man and a wife, but I also believe that marriage should not be controlled and regulated and registered by the government. What really point does it have other than for us to then qualify for other corporate benefits? So we are consenting to give up our rights and our money and all these other things for some of these corporate benefits. That's one of them. That's what I fought against from day one. Is that
10 seconds.
why do we as Christians have to capitulate and agree with gay marriage when the state should not have a say in our marriage whatsoever?
Time. Do we need a response there?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do a 1 minute response also, starting right now.
Yes, the United States government, many supporters on both sides discuss the separation of church and state. But marriages have existed on this land, I know with my people, for far before Christianity came, far before colonization came. So therefore, again, and it was more of like a partnership, you live your life together, help each other, support each other. It was more of a communal decision, and then there were spiritual marriages as well. So some people, indigenous people, get married for a livelihood, others would get married on a spiritual level that would last forever. Then there was a livelihood, somebody passed away, then they would remarry again. So I think every culture, every religion has different views on marriage. And that is why, again, separation of church and state. Go and get married if you love somebody, and they're not a kid, because that's just fucking gross.
1 minute response. Starting now.
I'm glad that we all agree that pedophiles are gross.
Yeah, we do.
I think we all can agree on that. And so marriage of children, that's why again, this separation of things in our government. There's a petition that went around this summer that piggybacked off of a petition that our folks were doing. And unfortunately, it had some of that built in. I truly believe that it was designed to open the door for religious exemption for things like child bride marriages. And so we need to all recognize some of those things within our legislation and the way that those things open the doors. The way that our laws actually opens the door for evil.
You got 10 seconds?
Yeah.
10 seconds?
Yeah, I think that's all I had.
I don't know.
All right, now this gentleman with the flag had a question.
Yeah.
And this time, I think we start with Adam.
Were you in the right one?
No, just speaking to it. Yeah.
So I think we can all agree that fascism itself is bad. I think either side, whether you're on the left or the right, we think fascism is bad. I think the right argues, or at least in my point of view, we're fighting global fascism. I would say the left thinks Donald Trump is a fascist. They're fighting against fascism here in the United States. My question to both of you is, how would you define fascism? And do you think why do you think Donald Trump is or is not a fascist?
We're gonna need 2 minutes on those.
I know.
Am I a good moderator or what? All right, it's Adam this time. Adam's first 2 minutes. Just give me a second here. I want to get them to an even mark.
Man, go one more time on
I
that.
know.
Okay, here's
There's
a
a lot of
pretty
stuff
loaded
you said
question.
there.
So
Yes, it is.
lot
I
of
guess
stuff on that.
I can bring it
What's
down.
fascism? Is Trump a fascist?
Yeah, we'll simplify it. I think it's, yeah. How would you define fascism? And in your opinion, is Donald Trump a fascist?
Or does he have
Ready? 2
I think
minutes.
it's good.
Starting now.
Yeah. I don't believe that Donald Trump is a fascist. As I said, fascism, as I've been saying to these folks down here, fascism happens by, it's a political means. It's the violence, it's the destruction, the mayhem for a political means, and to silence, and it's used to silence your political opponents. That is what happens in fascism. That is what fascism is. And so we cannot silence each other. We have to have these discussions like this. And I don't believe that Donald Trump has been a fascist in that way. I don't think that he has been violently silencing anybody right now. There are rumors of things, or I guess what the media wants to say is going on, but I don't believe that is in any way reality. As I called out here, I believe that the fascism that we continue to see, the political movement and the political ideology that is using fear and destructive tactics is not been a part of this patriot movement that I'm a part of. It is people that are, maybe they're not even a part of your side, maybe they're just anarchists. But the whole political spectrum, it goes from left to right. Left meaning that there is full, complete government control on the right. There is no government control that ends in anarchy. But it's not just a line that stays separate. It is a circular system. So once you get to that system of anarchy, you fall immediately back into complete government control in the form of an oligarchy or a socialist state or other means that have happened around the world. That is the history of what we are seeing happening here in our states today. So Donald Trump, I don't think, is a fascist, but I do think that we are seeing fascism on our streets today.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 minutes for you. Starting right now.
I don't think we can actually individually say that like any president of recent has been a direct fascist because, I mean, they would have to be like on the front lines down here with us, making, mandating things, in my opinion. But I think that a lot of the presidents that have been in position have had fascist influence and fascist decisions. The authoritative control is wrong. Like the fact that they're our authority figure is ridiculous. They're actually supposed to be like working for us, not like ruling us. The ruling came from the king and queen shit that like many white people's ancestors escaped that came over here from. And so that needs to be taken out of government, period. That whole like, I'm your authority figure, I'm above you, that whole king-queen mentality needs to stop because whether it's Governor Whitmore or Donald Trump or anybody that's elected, they take a shit just like I do. And so I think that whole view and their own mentality, they get egos. They get egos and they get this authoritative type bullshit going in their head. And they're like, oh, I'm your authority figure and I can make this decision, I can make that decision. You guys better follow this, and you better follow that. I've seen it on both sides of the party.
Stanford prison experiment?
Yeah, so.
30 seconds.
No, okay.
Good. Okay.
At this point, everybody, I think we're going to wrap it up for today.